So guys, today I wanted to talk about how the SU-34 is kind of becoming obsolete. And I will give you my opinion a little bit on here, so some of you may get hurt. But yeah guys, we're gonna compare the SU-34 to the SU-30, and we're gonna talk about how the SU-30 is basically making the SU-34 obsolete. And of course, I mean in the air-to-ground role, because it is where you would use the SU-34 mainly, technically, right? Of course, it can be used in the air-to-air role, but obviously the SU-30SM would be better there, because it has more missiles, it is more of a focused aircraft there. But not only there, I really wanted to show to you guys how the SU-34 might not be worth to grind anymore, because the SU-30 can do it all, and it does in a better way. So the first thing that we're gonna take a look in is the flight performance. This thing has the blue flames. Yes, the blue flames, which are the more modern AL-31s, they do produce a lot more power, okay? So indeed, you will have more power with this thing. But if you take a look on this graph of StatShark, you will see that even though it does indeed have more power, as you're gonna show later, it takes more time to accelerate than the SU-30. Okay, so the SU-30, of course, is still work in progress and stuff, but it's a big difference. The SU-34 is so heavy that the extra power doesn't mean much. You can see that they do indeed have more power. So if we just take this off, you will see that the SU-34 does produce more thrust than the SU-30SM. But, like I showed before, the acceleration is worse because it has a lot more weight. Even the drag, we can compare the drag, for example, over here, and you will notice that the drag is higher on the SU-34 as well. Not by much, but it is higher as well. So the drag together with the weight makes the SU-34 be worse in the terms of engine, even if he has a stronger engine. So what about turn? Well, the thing is, if you compare them both, and we're gonna compare with StatShark as well, on the turning capability, they are pretty similar without using the, the Cobra button, right? If you use the Cobra button before the update, the SU-34 was one of the most maneuverable Sukhois out there. Even if it had more weight to it, the aircraft could just do a lot more because it had the canards, right? So it was better than the SU-27, for example, just because of that. So indeed, it's not, although a very heavy aircraft, it's not an aircraft that it's sluggish on the nose authority, right? Because of the Cobra button, you can do some interesting maneuvers with it that are very similar to the ones in the SU-30SM. But let's be honest, guys, there's nothing that compares in the game to the SU-30SMs. Why is that? Because of the thrust vectoring. You can do it all. Even with the change that we had in the dev server today, it's an aircraft that can do it all. It can even fly backwards and change the direction completely with a 180 turn, with just basically a little bit of a turn there, right? So let me see if I don't lie over here. No, I'm fine. So it's an aircraft that, although indeed, yes, it can be very, similar to the SU-34, still pulls some stuff that the SU-34 can only dream of. So in the performance side of things, it is indeed way better to fly the SU-30SM. Like I said before, it is expected. This thing is lighter. This thing is supposed to be more of an interceptor fighter stuff. So it makes sense, right? And of course, even in the normal turns with StatShark, we can see that the SU-30SM turns way better than the SU-34. And if you compare to other aircraft, this is nothing. Like, there are aircraft that go way above here. But yeah, the SU-30SM has a lot more performance. Obviously, like I said, the aircraft itself, this means nothing, right? Because it is a higher BR. But remember, for air to ground, this is the main feature that the SU-34 is looked to get grinded for, right? So the performance is way better, and remember, in ground battles they both have the same BR. Then let's talk about the radar, because that makes a lot of difference as well, doesn't it? So yes, indeed, both aircraft have PESA radars, right? They both have the same feature of the off-bore, basically redetection of the TWS. So as you can see, even though I'm looking elsewhere, the radar is still detecting those targets because it is an electronic scanner array radar. But this thing has a lot more range, and of course it can turn more, and I think it will be even buffed. It's not ready, this radar. So at the end of the day, this is a much better radar, and with the missiles that we're going to talk about later, this is even better. So although, as you see, the radar of the SU-34 is a pretty good radar and one of the best in the game before this patch, it is still lacking a little bit compared to the SU-30SM. It will lack in range a little bit, it will lack in ability to turn to the sides and stuff, and even on speed a bit, but they might be very close to that. They have the feature, like I said, that you can just, you know, look elsewhere and it will still do the electronic scanner array thing. So it is still a pretty amazing radar, but the SU-30SM is a little bit better. And of course, for any attacker, it needs to defend itself. So, of course, let's talk about air-to-air missiles. What does the SU-34 get? Well, the normal good old R-73s, R-77s, and of course R-27s, the ETs and everything. So, the pretty standardization of aircraft missiles that the Russians have in the semi-top tier air battles, right? Which is pretty cool. You can have like 10 missiles over here, which is plenty, and you have 8 R-77s, for example, which is pretty good. You have the R-73s, which are amazing, but guess what? Even the R-73s that are here, that are amazing, you do not have a helmet. So you can use them in a dogfight pretty well, and even the radar cannot be locked into targets using the helmet, so it doesn't have a helmet. So in a dogfight, it will miss a little bit. And the plus beyond that is that the SU-30 not only takes more missiles, because it can take 14 missiles total, the SU-30SM obviously take the R-77-1, which is a much better missile than the original R-77s, and it does have the helmet, okay, and an IRST, by the way. So overall, again, this is nothing new. I know, this is becoming boring, Matt. I mean, everything that you say, obviously the SU-30 will be better, but what's your point? Well, let's get to the point then. The thing is, guys, if you take a look on the BR of this thing over here, this thing is a 13.3, but in the ground battles, it is a 12.7, and this thing is a 14.0, but in the ground battles, it is 12.7. Again, I gotta be honest, there are a few people that will fly this thing in an air match and would have this aircraft for an air match. Normally, people would get the SU-34 for it to be a ground striker, right? So, is the SU-34 at least better on the air-to-ground weaponry? Well, that's the problem, and that's the whole point of the video. Even on that, considering that they have the same BR on ground matches, it loses for the SU-30SM. Not by much, but it does loses. First of all, I mean, it depends on what type of game you want to have. If you want to have just full, like, TV-guided missiles, laser-guided missiles, GPS-guided bombs, I don't know, you tell me what you like, but I personally enjoy something along those lines like this. I love my laser guided missiles because I can change targets and of course get people that are moving in a bit of an easier way because they control a little bit more of the flight path, right? But I do love to take some MTs over here of the KH-38 because it's good, it's amazing to kill AA system, of course, right? Maybe take a very big bomb in the middle, some unguided back there, and that's it, right? So you can have basically 7 guided weaponry and then 2 non-guided. You can still take your normal R-77s, your normal R-73s, and remember, this thing has in the middle of the engines a TV pod, but it's not the greatest thing ever. It doesn't have a lot of gimbal limit, like it has very little gimbal limit. So let's compare to the SU-30SM, right? It must be worse, right? Since this is the attacker version of the SU-27, right? Well, no, actually, it's even better. If you do a somewhat of a similar kind of loadout here, you can do a lot more. Why is that? First of all, of course, like I said, you have the ability to defend yourself better. You have a better missile, you have the helmet, you have better performance overall to defend yourself in the same BR as the SU-34, which will be the max BR in ground battles. But not only that, you can take more weapon. So not only you have a pod which is way better than the original pod of the SU-34, including that it has thermal imaging systems. You can take more bombs and more stuff. So for example, here in this case, I can have 4 of these SCAB 250s over here. I can have 2 more, you know, MLs or MT KH-38s. You can have 1 more down there. You know, you can do whatever you want here. A big bomb, a smaller bomb back there, which is guided, which is something that it's different from before, with a total of 9 guided bombs with a way better pod that you can take, together with the missiles and the flight performance and everything. And you can even mismatch over, of course, you can take less stuff that are bigger. For example, ignore the B pylon over here and get a bigger missile or whatever you want to do here. It will be on the very least the same as the SU-34 in numbers of weapons. Will be the same weapons to attack the ground, with a way better system to find targets and a way better overall platform to defend itself. So yeah, unfortunately, RIP for the SU-34. So the only thing that the SU-34 would normally be used for, the SU-30SM is way better at it. It will be better for doing anything that you want, and including air-to-ground missions. So yeah, people can say this thing is heavy, this thing is here or that, but the thing is, it's just better than everything else that the Russians have. It doesn't matter if it's gonna be way better or way worse than some of the missiles that we see out there. The thing is that this thing will be way better than anything that the Russians have. And that's the major thing. You know, it will be an aircraft that can do it all. It is the perfect multi-role aircraft. It can do literally everything that the Russians needed to do. And remember, guys, the Russians were already one of the best nations in the game for air-to-ground and defending the airs with their air systems and all the other things that they already have. So I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that it is a pretty strong nation already, and this is, yeah, this is even better. I mean, this is just the craziest aircraft ever. It might not be, I mean, I don't know what you wanted. Maybe you wanted an SU-35, maybe you wanted something else, but I gotta be honest, the extra weight over here, the lack of a more powerful engine, it is actually well thought to be added, this thing, because if not, if it would be added with the extra engine power, with the extra radar, with less weight, it would be kind of too OP, you know. So like this, I feel like it would be okay-ish, but it would put to shame everything else that the Russians have. The SU-30SM, forget about that thing. The MiG-29 SMT, then Jesus Christ, my MiG-29 there is gonna get some dust on the aircraft because it's just useless now. The SU-34, forget about that thing. The SU-25, yeah, forget about that thing. Everything that it's close to top tier that you want to use in a top tier match, everything will lose for the Russian, like in the Russian Air Force, to this SU-30. So get this thing, prepare yourself and get this thing. This thing can do it all, and it's the best air-to-grounder. It's the best air-to-air, if that is even a word. But yeah, basically this is my idea of the video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and yeah, see you guys on the next one. So yeah, bye guys, see ya.